So, ready to dive deep into crafting a career, making stringed instruments. We're talking artistry, woodworking, music, all rolled into one.
It's a pretty unique field, so nailing that interview, that's key.
Exactly. And luckily, RoleCatcher's guides break it all down. They even highlight things like, did you know different woods change how an instrument sounds?
Oh, absolutely. That's fundamental. I mean, you wouldn't use the same wood for a cello's deep sound as you would for, like, a bright, snappy mandolin.
Right. So let's say an interviewer asks, tell us about your experience with different woods and how they affect sound. How do you answer that well?
It's not just listing woods, it's showing you get that connection between wood and sound. So instead of just, I've worked with mahogany, you could say something like, mahogany, it's got those warmer tones, longer decay, so it's great for an acoustic guitar's body. But spruce, that's brighter, more resonant, so often preferred for the soundboard.
Wow. Yeah, suddenly it's not just wood. It's like you're describing his personality.
Right. Don't be afraid to get a little technical, talk about density, grain structure, how that all plays into it. Like a denser wood might give you a brighter sound, or how open grain changes resonance.
It's like you're letting them peek inside how you choose and shape the wood, not just the what.
Exactly. And speaking of that thought process, interviewers also want to know how you ensure your instruments are top-notch, consistently.
Right, because each one is like a work of art. Got to keep that quality high.
Yeah.
So how would you answer? How do you ensure the quality and consistency of your instruments?
It's all about showing your meticulous side, that you really understand the craft. You could say, I'm really careful measuring each piece of wood to make sure it matches the design exactly. Even small differences can change how the instrument sounds and plays.
So you're connecting your process to the bigger picture of quality.
Yes. You could talk about carefully checking the wood for flaws, using the right tools for precise cuts and joins, even testing the instrument as you build it to make sure it sounds amazing and plays well.
Now that's attention to detail. But things don't always go perfectly right.
You're right. Every instrument maker runs into challenges, and interviewers know that.
That's why they ask, tell us about a challenging project and how you overcame obstacles, right?
Exactly. They want to see you problem solve.
What kind of story should you tell? Do you go for the most impressive project, even if it wasn't that hard?
Impressive is good, but honesty and real problem solving are key here. Pick a project that genuinely made you think outside the box.
So, a real head scratcher. And how do you make explaining your solution stand out?
Be specific. Don't just say, I figured it out. Tell them the steps you took, the research, the experiments. Maybe you consulted another luthier, tried new materials, found a special tool. Show your dedication to quality even when things get tough.
So it's not just solving the problem, it's showing you're resourceful and passionate enough to see it through.
Exactly. And that passion goes beyond the building itself. The industry's always changing. Got to keep up.
Which leads perfectly to, how do you stay up to date with new trends and technologies in instrument making? That's another one from RoleCatcher's guide.
And this isn't just knowing your way around a wood shop. It's showing you're all about innovation, always excited to learn.
So what shows that? A woodworking magazine subscription isn't enough, I'm guessing.
Probably not. Think bigger, like industry conferences, workshops, trade journals, even online forums where luthiers swap ideas.
Yeah, Brit Pros, you're not just watching trends, you're part of the conversation.
Exactly. You're marketing your passion and yourself. And this is where RoleCatcher's AI can really help fine-tune how you present that.
Right. Because they don't just offer general advice. Their AI tailors your answers to each job description, picking up on the keywords and skills that matter most to the employer.
It's like having a personal coach in your pocket. Plus, their feedback feature lets you practice your answers, get AI insights, and feel more confident walking into that interview.
Less stress, better chances of landing the job. Sounds like a win-win. But we've got more interview questions to unpack and insights from the career guide. Ready to keep going. Ready for more.
Bring it on. Let's shift gears a bit. Interviewers often want to know about the, let's say, more technical side of instrument making. Think repairs, maintenance, that kind of thing. Making sure an instrument plays its best.
Makes sense. You don't want someone who can only build from scratch, but panics if a string breaks or the neck needs adjusting. So if someone's newer to this, how do they approach a question like, can you discuss your experience with repairing and maintaining stringed instruments?
Even without tons of on-the-job experience, you can still show you know your stuff. Focus on what you do know. Like, start with how important regular maintenance is. Cleaning, changing strings, those little adjustments.
Those are basics any instrument owner should know, right?
Exactly. Then maybe mention common repair issues. Even if you haven't fixed them yourself, showing you recognize them matters. Like, warped necks, maybe you've seen a cracked soundboard, or know someone who dealt with a loose brace inside.
So even just knowing those problems exist is valuable.
It shows you're aware. And you can always say how you'd research solutions or find an expert if it's beyond you. Willingness to learn is huge.
That mix of knowledge, honesty, and knowing when to call in the pros, that's important. Now, I'm curious about custom instruments. That collaboration aspect. It's like taking someone's musical dream and making it real.
It's a huge part of the craft. Interviewers might ask, can you discuss your experience working with clients to create custom instruments? Because it's more than just building, right?
Way more. You're translating their needs into wood and strings, right?
Exactly. Listening is key. And turning that into design choices. Instead of just, I listen to the client. Give an example. Like, I had a guitarist who wanted a brighter, punchier sound. We talked about how they play, what they liked, and I suggested a specific wood for the soundboard and a bracing pattern to really make that happen.
It's like you're an architect, but for sound. Now, speaking of enhancing sound, what about the finishing? That beautiful sheen on a finished instrument always gets me.
It's where the instrument comes alive, visually and acoustically. They might ask, can you discuss your experience with finishing and polishing instruments?
I'll be honest, I mostly thought about the looks. It's more than that.
Oh, yeah. The finish affects how the wood vibrates, which changes the tone. You could mention lacquer finishes. They're durable, high gloss, emphasize those high frequencies. Or oil finishes, more natural look, let the wood breathe and resonate differently.
So another subtle but big choice that shapes the sound.
Exactly. Now, we've talked acoustics, but electronics are huge too. How do you recommend showing knowledge there?
Right. Lots of instruments blend the two these days.
Even if you're mostly acoustic, knowing the basics helps. If they ask, can you discuss your experience working with electronics and pickups in instruments? Be honest. If you're learning, say that. But emphasize you want to learn.
So adaptability, eagerness, those are good, even without being an expert yet.
Right. You could say, I'm mostly acoustic, but electronics fascinate me. I've been studying wiring diagrams, trying different pickups on a personal project.
That shows you're taking initiative, not just waiting around. Speaking of which, let's jump to career stuff for a sec.
Perfect timing. This career isn't one size fits all. RoleCatcher's Guide talks about potential career paths, and that's helpful.
It tells you about salary expectations too, right? Which probably vary a lot.
They do. On average, it says $30,000 to $60,000 a year. Of course, the top earners, they've got years under their belt, special skills, maybe a great reputation.
The more you hone your craft, the more in demand you become. And can you move up in this line of work?
Definitely. The guide mentions becoming a manager, overseeing other builders, or specializing, like vintage instrument restoration or custom designs, lots of paths.
Vintage restoration, that sounds amazing. Probably requires a whole other level of expertise.
It does, and that's why lifelong learning matters here. Workshops, new techniques, even just knowing what's happening in the music world, it all adds up.
It's about finding those chances to keep getting better.
And remember, RoleCatcher's AI isn't just for interviews, it's there throughout your career.
Good point. It can give you insights and help you reach your goals. But we've still got some interview questions to get through. Ready to tackle more. Back again, ready for more interview prep. This next question seems like it's getting to the heart of what makes an instrument sound good, like really sing.
You're talking about intonation and setup. It can make or break how well an instrument plays.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I bet interviewers ask, can you discuss your experience with intonation and setup of instruments? All the time. But honestly, those words sound kind of intimidating. Could you break them down a bit?
Sure, intonation is all about making sure the instrument plays in tune across the whole fretboard. Imagine you play a note way down low, sounds perfect, but higher up on the neck, same note, it's suddenly sharp or flat. That's bad intonation.
Yikes, that'd throw any musician off. How do you even fix that?
It's about making careful adjustments. The saddle, the nut, maybe even the truss rod, it depends on the instrument and what's wrong. Tuners help, but you also need a good ear. And to really get how string tension and neck relief affect the sound.
Sounds like a delicate process. And what about setup? What falls under that?
Setup is the whole shebang, making sure it plays its best. Adjusting string height, checking neck relief, making sure it's comfortable for the player. Everything's smooth and responsive.
So intonation's being in tune, setup's making it a joy to play.
Exactly. Now, even if you're not a pro at setups yet, you can show you understand the idea. Mention resources you like, online tutorials, maybe books by famous luthiers.
Right, never stop learning.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, RoleCatcher's Guide goes beyond just interviews, right? Gives you the bigger picture of this career.
It does. Salary stuff, which everyone wants to know, and that varies a lot.
So, ballpark. What can a skilled instrument maker expect to earn?
They say around $30,000 to $60,000 per year on average. The higher end, that's usually folks with years of experience, special skills, or they've built a really good name for themselves.
Makes sense. The better you get, the more in demand you are.
Yeah.
And are there ways to, move up in this field?
For sure. The guide talks about becoming a manager, leading a team, or you could specialize, maybe vintage instrument restoration or focus on custom designs. Lots of options.
Vintage restoration, that's so cool.
That-
But that takes a ton of knowledge.
Definitely. It all goes back to lifelong learning, workshops, trying new things, even just knowing what's happening in music overall. It all matters.
Always be growing. That's key.
And don't forget, RoleCatcher's AI isn't just for nailing the interview. It's there to help you throughout your whole career.
True. Helps you reach your goals, whatever those may be.
Like having a guide every step of the way.
Well said. So, any final wisdom for our aspiring luthiers out there?
Never forget, your passion for this, that's your biggest strength. Let it show in interviews, show off your skills, and always keep learning.
Beautifully put. And hey, check out RoleCatcher, everyone. Their tools are super helpful, whether you're job hunting or already building your career.
Best of luck out there. The world needs passionate craftspeople like you.
Couldn't agree more. And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive into the world of stringed instrument making. Until next time, keep those dreams alive, and we'll see you back here on The Deep Dive.